You have heard it said, God is good all the time. So why did he create evil and let it continue to exist? Why would an all-loving God do such a thing? Are these reasonable questions? Join us as we go as far as we can to continue to ask the question, what is God?
Who am I?
Who? Our purpose is to awaken.
Who am I?
To awaken to absolute truth.
Am I?
Who am I? Who?
Our purpose is to awaken to absolute truth.
Absolute.
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 Absolute truth.
Our purpose is to awaken. Are they one and the same? Absolute and truth. That's our purpose.
Who am I?
Hey, everybody's here. Okay, all right. Hey, Gloria. Hey, Karen. All right. Read, and we all here, right?
Yes.
Ready for a good class?
Yes.
You got your minds open?
Yes.
All right, we're going to have a good class today. We're going to continue the class topic that we've been dealing with for the last few shows. And that topic is, what is God? That is the most profound question you can ever ask. What is God? All right? Everybody knows something about God. Your grandmama taught you about God. You know, it's on your dollar bill, in case those of you got plenty of money, you know about that, all right? But, we all say we know about God. But do you really ask, what is God? And why is that so important? That's what we want to get in today. Now, I want to let the people out there in the TV audience to know that prior to our taping the show, we meet here for a few minutes and, we eat chicken wings, right?
Right.
Right, get a little free food, right, But on a more serious vein, I pass out what I call Kickstarter questions because we want to get into deep as far as we can go. We don't want to stop anywhere, all right? And so I pass out these Kickstarter questions, and I want you to be really interactive with us. So some of the Kickstarter questions which I pass out to them to just sort of get the ball kind of rolling. The first question is, what were you taught about the devil, and what do you believe about evil or the devil now? The second one is, if you believe God is good, how do you account for wars, poverty, disease, and all the ills of the world? And the third one, I really want you to hear this one. If God has an enemy, shouldn't he love this enemy, the devil, in other words, since we are taught to love our enemies, all right? So these are just some questions that, we want to just sort of like dig down deep in there. Now, as I said, God, did you know that the word God comes from a Greek word, it's a contraction of the word good, okay? That it is about supposedly good. Now, religion, the word religion comes from the word religio, which means binding back to the source, or going to the source. And that's where we want to go. We want to find out what is the source. It's like you have to have a foundation. Right now we are standing on some concrete blocks, a concrete floor, all right? And it's solid. All right, it gives us something to stand on. Now, everybody says they got something to stand on, and they call it truth, all right? But they don't ask, is it true? How do I know it's true? And what are the implications of it if it is true? Now, these are intelligent questions. So when you were asking, what is God, are you asking what is absolute truth? Are you? I say yes. Okay. Now, what we did today in the Kickstarter questions, we were bringing up this question called the devil. Now all of you were probably taught something about the devil. You got grandmama who probably swears there's a devil. Okay, you will hear people talk about that. You know, who was it? Flip Wilson back in the 70s, telling you, okay, I know, Gloria, you're too young to remember that. Yes, but Flip Wilson used to say, the what?
The devil made me do it.
Right. So he was saying that there is an opposite of God. All right, because we said the devil is that which is in opposition to God. Now, the question I have is, if God is infinite, how could he have an opposite?
Well, as human beings, we put a definition on God, even though we know that there is no God. So by doing that, we have put, this is my belief, we have put God as a dual. In other words, that there is an opposite to God.
Yes.
If you define something, then you make it tangible, you make it so that there has to be something in relation to it. The thing that's in relation to it is the devil.
Uh-huh.
But my feeling and belief is that the devil is in the hearts and minds of men alone. There's no force out there compelling us to be wicked. There's no outside entity.
So the devil for you is what?
It's in the hearts and minds of men. It's how we behave. It's how we think, the stinking thinking.
All right, so you say it's our thoughts?
It's our thoughts, and then it manifests in our behaviors on a human level.
So is God a thought?
God is a thought for us as human beings in our human, construct, but God is more than a thought. God is just all. There is no thinking when it comes to God. I mean,
Well,
No,
I
I thought you just said you didn't believe in God.
no.
Oh, didn't she say that?
Did I say?
The term belief, and I was going to say what?
Well, right. Okay. So what I'm saying is, in terms of belief, I don't think I ever said I don't believe in God. I believe that God is all. God is everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
the
Was
infinite,
I-
the
right,
infinite.
exactly.
All right.
Using
God
it in
is
that
the
context.
infinite.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Can you know that there is infinity?
There's no way to know
Oh, really?
that there is infinity. There's just I am. There's just
Okay.
it's all. I mean,
yeah, there is just is.
right.
In other words, being. Being bees. All right. How do I know that?
You just make a decision.
No,
to
I
believe
be.
it.
Right.
I is.
Yes.
I am. All
Yes.
right. There is existence. There is. And I cannot say there is non-existence and be truthful. All right. So being. Lamarcus, you look like you got something you want to say.
There is something that I would like to say, Dr. Carter. First, I will begin by saying the problem exists because we first call God He by believing that God is a man restricts our right, and also placing agenda on God restricts our understanding, limits our understanding about God's being. So by saying God is a He, we're saying in a sense that God is not infinite. God is finite because we know that humanity is finite and not infinite. So I would start by saying that that's where the problem begins. And also, I would say that since God is love, God indeed loves the devil as well. Now, the devil, I would say, well, let me start by saying God isn't responsible for the actions of humanity. When we see war, when we see poverty, when we see that appears to be evil, we often blame God for that we see when God has nothing to do with the actions of humanity. So I'll place that out.
Okay, so you threw that out of there. Lamarcus is saying that God is not responsible for man's behavior. I think is what I heard you say, right? Well, then we can go into that and say, can God know man? Okay.
There's no knowing of don't know, this is a strange conversation. It always is, because there's no, and the reason is because we'll pick words up and we'll use the words, and then everybody will have their own connotation. There's a general meaning, of course, that we understand, the definition, again, where we put something in a box. And it's, to me, God, my belief is that we create a God in our minds that serves us. And by doing that, we also create whatever the opposite of that God is to serve us as well.
And what creates that? Out of what does that come?
Ego,
The mind.
the mind.
The
and
human mind. Unless you understand the human mind, you cannot understand anything. Because then you are a slave to the human mind. Because the human mind, like you were saying, Unica, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. He's making thinking the creator, a psychological concept called thought. All right? It's a mechanism of the mind. Look, you're always interacting with your mind. Right now you're doing that. Going, I don't agree with that. He's stupid or whatever, okay? He's a blasphemer. But you are interacting with what you call your mind. Now, what do you know about it? Now, I do have a Ph.D. in psychology. I got a little piece of paper from
Public high
Columbia.
school diploma.
Yeah, Columbia said, we'll give you this. I said, I'll take it, all right? But, I suppose we have some expertise in the mind. But that which they teach at Harvard, Columbia, Berkeley, Stanford, all the major universities is not really deep enough because they do not understand. When I said they, even the most prominent psychologists, Freud, Jung, Skinner, whoever, all right? They didn't have the conversations that we want to have. Now, this mind, as Unica was saying, it has to operate on a principle called polarity. There's a this and a that. There are opposites. If there is a God, the mind will have to have that there's something in opposition to it called evil. In other words, for a positive, there'll have to be a negative. Okay? Right. And that's what the mind was saying. For a male, there's a female. All right? For the up, there's a down. So if you are in the mind, you will have a God who supposedly knows something about an opposite of himself, evil. Lorraine.
But now, if it is true that nothing is real, what is the point of even having this discussion?
Well, I disagree with your premise. I am real. I am.
No.
You ain't. Look, there's one thing I know for sure. I cannot deny I. All right? You, which means another.
Another
All
I.
right? Well, no, you ain't an I. You're you. All right? I can only know one I. All right? And I is an awareness of existence. That's what I is. All right? I am aware that I exist. All right? Now, this awareness, I think is personal. I think that, it's Alan Carter, brother Joan Carter, from Huntsville, Alabama. Normal, right, Joan? Right. Whatever, Archibald. You were correct on that. Orangeburg. Anyway, all this stuff I connect with a body, all right? A body that is caught in time and space. And I call it I. Well, that's blasphemy. That's adultery. I is awareness. And I is God. But hold it. You have to be very careful when you say that. Because the human mind will sneak in there and say, I, a human, is God. And that's when you have your Hitlers and all of those and your Caesars and all of those, okay? That's the ego that you were talking about. No human, no piece of matter that knows about time and space can be God. Because that which is eternal cannot know about the finite or time, space, okay? Yeah, Archibald, looks like you have a question you want to ask.
Right. We were in trying to deal with God, our humans or whatever we are here, basically have given a definition that we call God, i.e., we have created God and the structure around which God and his other gods, devils, whatever else, came into being. So we can say I am, and that's who we are, or who I am, not we, but me. But I am now is all that we can say about any of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolute truth. That's why, you have heard me say, always ask the question, is it absolutely true? Because otherwise, you are dealing with beliefs. And the mind will take a belief, as you're saying, Archibald, and make it seem true. I could say I worship Zeus. And people did at one time. And they died for Zeus, okay? And they gave up their tithes or whatever and went to the Zeus temple or whatever, okay? And man is always, as you're saying, Archibald, why does man have to create God, okay? Man knows he's finite. I think I have a beginning. I think I was born. And then I think there's something called a death. If you ever been to Egypt, you will know that these pharaohs, built these pyramids because they were trying to deal with the issue of death. But man has to say there's got to be something more. But he never gets to the source. The source of Marcus.
Yeah, I'm wondering, could it be that humanity sees humanity self not as this great being or a being with a capability of creating what we have on earth, that is beyond humanity's capability. And so I'm wondering if that's why we believe that there is a God that is responsible for this earth, the sun, the creation of human life, and also wondering if it's possible for humanity, while thinking that there is a God, to think along these lines. Since there is a God that sustains life, that given us all that we need so that we may enjoy life, that is in opposition of a life sustained has to be the devil. If God is helping us with living a peaceful life and have a heaven to place us in, which we can enjoy peace beyond earth, anything that's in opposition of a life sustained or that creates turmoil is the devil and is hell, even on earth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, it gets back to, man always gets stuck because he starts with man, okay? I think as a man or human or woman or whatever, all right, as a human, I think, and therefore I am caught in the thinking process. And I will have something, I will create something to help me deal with these mysteries, these unknowns.
Exactly.
Okay? So I will create a God as saying he is the ultimate unknown, but he began all of this. But that's, again, starting as a human. Man does not want to not exist. I know that's a double negative. All right? Ms. Simpson told me that, John. My ninth grade English teacher. The thing is, as long as you start off, what's the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. I think old Moses came up with that, right? Yeah. It's in that book, okay? Thou shalt have no other gods. Well, we start off with the false god, human. All right? We start off as a human, and that mind that tells us that I am a human, and these are other humans here. That is the premise. Now, you have to question that. Is there such a thing as a human? And other humans, 7 billion of us on this planet, and we don't know how many other beings are on other planets, okay? But that's where we start. And we say that there's something called time, and there's space, and there's matter, okay? Big Bang, all right? In Genesis, Genesis, God, there was a great void, and then God had to fill it up. Took him 6 days, and he got tired.
So the story goes.
Yeah, that's a story, all right? Just like Big Bang is a story.
Yeah.
All right? It's a story based where man is trying to start with how do I exist as a man and with a world outside of me with people in it. And then I will have another relationship with something called a God. So I have me as a man, you as other humans, and then I have a God, which I think is not a human, but he sure is like a human. All right? And it's all psychology. It is all just human thinking. Raphael.
Dr. Carter, I'm confused
Okay.
to some of the things that I'm
So
hearing
is he.
here. I really believe, and this is my own opinion, that through the no mind, there's a triangle there, which is this invincible forces of intelligence, the entire system through all and nothingness, create a beginning for us. So God is inside of us. Then we're able to see that energy field through the quantum field of all the possibilities. So when we put that triangle together, we have a faith in God.
Yeah, that's called psychology again. That's cognition, faith, belief, thought. All right? And I'll get to you. The thing is, see, again, we are always trying to explain man's existence. And we start off thinking that man exists. All right? If man exists, then God can't. Do you hear me? All right? If Alan Carter exists as a human, then that is impossible for a God to exist. But I wake up in the morning, I say, I'm awake, but I think I, who is awake, is a human. And I think I am standing in front of 12 people sitting down in chairs in a place called Atlanta, Georgia. That's a lie. If that's true, then God can't be. How can infinity know anything about space and time? How can it? Now, I want you to think. I want you to do some critical thinking. Do not accept what I said as true, because Alan Carter is a liar. All right? All Alan Carter can do is a lie. But I am is not a lie. I am that I am is absolute truth. Now, the only thing is, I think I is human. Eric and then Gloria.
Dr. Carter, I have a question that I want to pose, and it's two-part with a statement as well. If we believe, which I personally choose to believe, that we're all one through this energy, that is one with God. That's the I am. Evil, good, devil, whatever, is creative. I think that the man create adversities, some of it's for control. So if I have this figure who says that I am connected to this good and there's this bad out here and you need to go through me in order for me to tell you what's right and wrong, then there's some form of control in that. So I think we create evil. And then I also believe that we have to have polar opposites. We're so used to it. You can't drive a car with gas without having brakes. You got gravity, you go up, you go down. So we're so used and conditioned to having opposites to balance ourselves in life that it just makes sense that if there is a God, there must be some kind of an evil. But I think when you get to the core of who you are, the I am of who you are, that's when you find out that there's just a universal oneness, which is based out of love. And I think that the reason why it's so hard for man to accept that is because ego says, I need to be able to give you an answer about everything, and I also need to create adversity so that I can control more than one entity. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, what would it be without Alan Carter? This me, this I. would there be any existence?
No. I mean, not.
But see, I only know that I exist. I do not know of a you. I cannot prove that there's a you or a it.
Hologram.
We were all taught, to conjugate the verb to be, I am, you are, he is, and so forth, okay? That's a lie. There's nothing else other than I. Awareness, the infinite awareness. That is all that there is, because infinity is all that there is, all right? But we don't want God to be all. We don't want God to be infinite. That's why we worship a God. And if you worship a God, he's no longer infinite. All right? There's now two. There's a me who's finite and a God who's finite. I'm always trying to say there's finiteness. And that's what I'm fighting for. That there is, because I'm finite. And there is this thing, like old Charles Darwin said, that I have this self-preservation instinct. Every organism, a cockroach has it, okay? Every organism says, has something called I exist separate and apart from. How can God exist separate and apart from? I know of something opposite to itself, okay? How can infinity know of something called finiteness? And I just got the signal that we have finite time right now. Okay, so we have to bring this to a close. But there's nothing more important to engage in this discussion. Unica asked the question, will we ever figure this out? Is there a solution? Yes, there is. Okay? This isn't just playing tiddlywinks or anything like that. This is profound. I don't know if the Pope has had a conversation like this. It is something that is worth engaging in, because what we are trying to find out is the source. Is that source true? Or is it a psychological concept called I believe? God cannot say I believe. God says I know. And I know I exist. So thank you. We will continue with this discussion in our next show. So many of you have told me that a half hour just isn't enough time to explore absolute truth. Well, I heard you. And that's why I'm conducting a series of interactive workshops. We'll spend the day exploring your most profound questions. Go to drallencarter.com to register for the upcoming workshop on June the 28th. And I'll see you there.